So I came back here in May and September to see how they were doing. In the meantime, I was doing a lot of work for them in the UK as well, actually writing specifications, things. They'd never done this before. And these were the sort of progress that we were going through. This has all happened in the space of 12 months. Decentralised energy, this is actually in contract now. So the Tri-Gen is in contract. That will actually be completed by about July, August this year. Renewable energy, that's also in contract, and that's looking at not just the LGA, but the greater Sydney region, because we realised for a city we can get a lot of PV and micro turbines, but that's not going to do it. So we've gone out and we specified onshore wind, offshore, geothermal energy, marine technologies, all part of the thing, and of course renewable gases. Huge potential, probably more potential for renewable gases in this part of Sydney than in London. Water's going to follow shortly, so that will be going out to tender later this summer. Waste is under contract. Again, waste is important. We needed to gear that so that wasn't going to end up as just another, recycling stroke landfill arrangement or incineration, even worse, but actually to use waste to generate the renewable gases for the city's Tri-Gen and transport. And the one that we've got to pick up later in the year is automated waste. So instead of having dust carts come around and collect your waste, it will just mysteriously disappear under the road and end up at a receiving station. Gives you a little bit of an idea of what we mean by a decentralised energy master plan. This is how the 330 megawatts is to be achieved. As I say, it's not a theoretical master plan. It's actually going to, when the master plan is published, it's going to be identify decentralised energy locations, what zones or precincts are going to be connected to that, and so on. This is what we mean by a low carbon zone, so a bit like what I did in Woking, a mixture of technologies, a mixture of different connection loads. If you do that from both ends and retrofit energy efficiency, you're essentially squeezing carbon out from both ends of the spectrum. This is what you can do with 100,000 tonnes of waste. You can generate an awful lot of energy from this, an awful lot of recycling. And of course, waste contains an awful lot of water. So as you see here, 100,000 tonnes of waste in London, and I guess your waste mix-up is not that much different, generates about 20 million litres of water per annum. So this fits into the water recycling network and so on. Automated waste, for those who've never seen that before, instead of having rubbish chutes and buildings, it just goes down a little porthole like a dishwasher door and segregate your different things. And even though it's a common pipe system, you can control recycling. You just simply take paper and card at 2 o'clock, metals at 4 o'clock, and plastics, whatever you want to do. It's a very intelligent system. First developed in Stockholm, but the city, the largest city that has the biggest penetration of automated waste is Barcelona. 80% of Barcelona's waste is dealt with in this way. So you see very few dust carts in Barcelona. And this is what we mean by green infrastructure. Riding on the back of Tri-Gen, which is the most economic element of it, we can then, if you've got trenches in the road, we can start putting in the rest of this green infrastructure. So that's why we have those 5 green infrastructure plans. City of Sydney projects, we've got £18.2 million programme over the next few years to retrofit all of the city's properties. We're not doing that a bit at a time. This is just going to be a single big contract. Here's all our property portfolio. We want to achieve X% reduction in CO2 emissions. Mr. Tenderer, what's the best deal you can give me back? So just deal with all one go. Politicians have that, and that's going to happen. You let a single contract, as opposed to all the resources involved in lots of little projects. You're never going to get there with that. LED lighting, same approach. The lighting trial is coming to an end, and so we're now at the point of rolling that out. Renewable energy, we've implemented something like 17 projects in the last year. So from having no renewable energy at all, it's now got 17 projects, just like that, and we're going to roll that out as a big programme as well. Town hall precinct, aquatic centres, all of the council's big buildings, including Customs houses, about 80 of them, are going into a single tender. Expressions of interest have already come out. We've got those. We're currently finalising that tender now as we speak. We've had some really big companies bid for that simply because it's a big project. And all of our property portfolio is going in there, so all the big sites will end up with Tri-Gen or whatever, and the surplus will be used to supply the small sites. So within a period of about 12 to 18 months, you could see the City of Sydney own property portfolio coming completely off the coal-fired grid. That just shows you how quickly you could do this. Utilities information management system, monitoring and targeting, so we'll be targeting exception reports. If you don't fit in with our energy consumption criteria, managers of those buildings will get an automatic email from the system that will tell them that they're over their target and they have to do something about it. We're also using that for evidential basis because we can calculate CO2 emissions from that as well as all sorts of other data. So our LED lighting project, they're all over the city, so if you care to go around looking at street lighting columns, have a look. Lighting place, just around the corner here. And of course, Town Hall, historic listed building, or heritage building as you call it over here. There was a bit of opposition to try and get that done, but we forced it through. I told them that the oldest one was St Christopher Wren Church in London, about 1775. So this is no big deal at all. And as you see, they're not just small renewable energy projects, they're quite significant size. At Surrey Hills, and also solar water heating. So we have electric water heating. It's almost as good a bang as photovoltaics because you're displacing electric, coal-fired electricity. This is the monitoring and targeting system we're talking about. So we've got meters all over the place. We can divvy up where energy and water is being consumed in every part of the council property portfolio. The cycleways, $76 million project, already underway, as some of you may well know. Other project actions, which I'll just touch on very briefly. In a way, I guess this sort of event is part of the advocacy bit, because if we can get messages across to people at all levels, particularly in local government, and if only one local authority does something, then that's a really good hit. So the progress so far, well, in 12 months from a standing start with nothing at all, Sydney's done pretty well, I have to say that myself, and work I did in working in London. Significant citywide projects like the decentralised energy plan and the cycleways and so on. Showing by doing projects, very important, just show you how quickly you can clean up your property portfolio and your emissions and so on. And advocacy at the highest level and engaging with people at the highest level, and I do mean at the highest level, so I'm not just going to these things, but I'm also meeting ministers and so on. And so people often ask me, how do you do these things? Well, you need three things. You need high-level political support and leadership. We have that in the Lord Mayor. We need chief officer support and leadership. We have that in a chief executive officer. I don't report to anybody other than the chief executive officer and the Lord Mayor. There's nobody in my way. Somebody doesn't like my procurement approaches. They just have to bite their tongue. So this is how you drive it through. So I think the title of my presentation was when a tool is not enough, but I think the message I want to leave you with is a sustainability tool is not enough to deliver real climate change action on the ground. You're at the beginning of a phase. Don't just stop there. You have to convert that toolkit into real action on the ground and copy what other people are doing elsewhere around the world. Thank you.